Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the holographic display with growing dread. Red dots marked enemy ships moving toward their system, while blue dots showed his own pathetic defense fleet. 3 aging cruisers and 8 patrol boats against 40 warships, including massive carriers that could launch hundreds of fighters. The math was simple and brutal. "Sir, the last communication from the outer sensor stations shows the Dominion fleet will reach us in 6 hours, reported his communications officer. The young Zalani's voice trembled despite his training. Everyone on the bridge knew what those numbers meant. They had sent desperate messages to every allied world within range, but the nearest help was 3 weeks away. The Dominion would not wait 3 weeks. Captain Lisa Grant commanded the defense cruiser Starweaver, and her crew of mixed species worked frantically to prepare their outdated weapons. Her human appearance stood out among the blue-skinned Zalani, but she had earned their respect through years of service. The ship's engineer, Jake Martinez, crawled through maintenance tunnels checking every power coupling and backup system. They would need everything working perfectly for the few hours they might survive. "Captain, we have civilians trying to evacuate on every available transport," reported the tactical officer. "The spaceport is chaos, but they are loading families as fast as possible." Lisa watched the civilian ships launching from the planet below. Small cargo haulers and passenger shuttles fled the system, carrying whoever could fit. Most would not make it far before the Dominion caught them. On Kathara Prime, 3 million Zalani lived and worked in the dilithium mines that powered half the sector. Dr. Nina Rodriguez coordinated the evacuation efforts from the Planetary Command Center. Her medical training helped her stay calm while organizing the movement of millions toward underground shelters. The deep mining tunnels might protect some civilians from orbital bombardment, but everyone knew it was only delaying. Death Admiral Cross led the approaching Dominion fleet from his massive dreadnought carrier. Intelligence reports described him as ruthless and efficient. He had conquered 12 systems in the past 2 years using overwhelming force and terror tactics. Survivors from other worlds told stories of entire populations executed after surrender. The Dominion wanted resources, not people. "Sir, long-range sensors show the enemy fleet maintaining battle formation," called out the sensor operator on Veltar's bridge. "They are not even bothering with stealth or deception. They know we cannot stop them." The commander studied the tactical display showing Dominion ships arranged in perfect attack formation, carriers in the center protected by cruisers and destroyers in screening positions. They moved like a machine designed for conquest. Lisa Grant opened a communication channel to all defending ships. "This is Starweaver to all vessels. We know the odds, but we have people counting on us down there. Every minute we delay them gives more civilians time to reach shelter. We are not just fighting for ourselves today." Her words carried across the small fleet to crews who already knew they faced death. The 3 Zalani cruisers took position using the gas giant's moons for cover, while patrol boats spread out among the asteroid fields. Veltar hoped to use hit-and-run tactics to slow the enemy advance, but his ships were too old and too few. The patrol boats might get one good attack run before being destroyed. The cruisers had enough firepower to damage enemy ships, but not enough armor to survive return fire. Jake Martinez finished his inspection of Starweaver's engines and weapon systems. Everything that could be repaired was working at maximum efficiency. The human engineer had served on Zalani ships for 5 years after his own world was destroyed by raiders. He understood the desperation of facing impossible odds while protecting innocent people. His hands moved quickly across control panels, bringing every system to peak readiness. "Commander, we are receiving surrender demands from the Dominion Admiral," reported the communications officer. The message displayed on screen showing Admiral Cross speaking from his command deck. The alien wore elaborate military decorations and his cold eyes showed no mercy. "Surrender immediately and your military personnel will receive quick execution. Resist and we will make examples of your civilians." The transmission ended, leaving silence on the bridge. Veltar looked at his officers, knowing they all heard the same message. "Send our reply. The Zalani Confederation does not negotiate with murderers. We will fight." The communications officer nodded and transmitted the brief response. Everyone knew it meant death, but they could not abandon their people. Dr. Rodriguez watched transport ships launching from spaceports across the planet while coordinating shelter assignments. The underground mining complexes could hold maybe 500,000 people in emergency conditions. The rest would have to take chances in smaller shelters or natural caves. Medical supplies and food were distributed to each location, though everyone knew supplies would not matter if the Dominion decided to crack the planet open. The Dominion fleet reached the outer system and began deploying fighters. Hundreds of small attack craft swarmed from the carrier bays like angry insects. Long-range weapons started firing at maximum distance, testing Zilani defenses and searching for weaknesses. The first phase of the battle had begun, though the real fighting would wait until the main fleet closed to effective range. "All ships prepare for combat," transmitted Veltar to his small fleet. "Remember, we are buying time for our families and friends. Make every shot count and make the enemy pay for every meter of space." The defending ships powered up weapons and shields while moving to intercept the approaching threat. Lisa Grant felt Starweaver respond to her commands as the cruiser accelerated toward battle. Her mixed crew of humans, refugees, and Zilani worked together with practiced efficiency. They had no illusions about survival, but they would not die quietly. The ship's weapons charged and targeting systems locked onto the nearest enemy vessels. As the two fleets closed toward combat range, every defender knew they faced certain death. The math was too simple to ignore. 40 enemy ships against 11 defending vessels meant the battle would be short and brutal. But among the asteroid fields and gas giants' moons, maybe they could make it cost the Dominion something. Maybe they could buy enough time for some civilians to escape or hide. The holographic displays showed red and blue dots converging as both fleets prepared for battle. In 6 hours, one side would control the system and the other would be dead. Commander Veltar gave the order to engage as the first Dominion ships entered weapons range. The first exchange of fire lit up space with deadly energy beams and explosions. Dominion cruisers opened with their heaviest weapons while Zilani ships tried to use speed and cover to avoid destruction. Captain Lisa Grant pushed Starweaver through a dangerous turn around an asteroid as plasma bolts burned past her hull. The ship shuddered from near misses but stayed intact. Commander Veltar watched his tactical display as 2 patrol boats exploded under concentrated fire from Dominion destroyers. The small ships had managed one attack run that damaged an enemy cruiser before being overwhelmed. 8 red dots became 6 in less than 10 minutes. The math was getting worse with every passing moment. Jake Martinez worked frantically in the engine room as power fluctuations threatened to shut down critical systems. Enemy fire had damaged external power relays and backup generators struggled to maintain weapons and shields. "I need more time to reroute the main power grid," he called to the bridge. "Give me 15 minutes and I can boost our weapons output by 20%. "We might not have 15 minutes. Lisa replied as another wave of Dominion fighters swept past firing missiles and energy weapons. Point defense systems destroyed most incoming projectiles, but several got through. Explosions rocked the ship as hull plating was stripped away. Emergency teams rushed to seal breaches before atmosphere escaped into space. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the battle from the Planetary Command Center while coordinating civilian evacuations. The underground shelters were filling rapidly, but transport capacity was limited. Families were being separated as available space ran out. Children went to the deepest shelters while adults took positions in smaller refuges closer to the surface. Admiral Cross studied battle reports from his flagship command deck. The Zilani were fighting better than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. His ships had superior firepower and numbers while enemy vessels were clearly outdated. "Continue the advance but watch for suicide runs," he ordered. "These defenders might try desperate tactics as their situation becomes hopeless." The Zilani cruiser Dawnbreaker attempted to close range with a Dominion carrier but was caught in crossfire from 3 enemy ships. Captain Rektar tried to ram the enemy vessel as his ship's hull cracked open, but the carrier's shields absorbed the impact. The explosion took out several Dominion fighters, but the carrier remained operational. Another Zilani ship was gone. Veltar realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed without inflicting serious damage on the enemy. "All ships fall back toward the gas giant," he transmitted. "Use the radiation and magnetic fields to interfere with their targeting systems." The surviving defenders broke off engagement and retreated toward the massive planet, hoping its natural phenomena might help level the odds. Lisa Grant piloted Starweaver through the gas giant's upper atmosphere where charged particles created interference patterns that confused sensors. Dominion ships followed, but their advanced targeting systems struggled with the electromagnetic chaos. "Now we have a chance," she told her crew. "They cannot see us clearly in this soup." The patrol boat Quick Strike emerged from the planetary rings and fired a spread of torpedoes at point-blank range into a Dominion cruiser. The surprise attack penetrated enemy shields and caused massive internal explosions. The enemy ship broke apart in a chain of secondary detonations, but return fire from other Dominion vessels vaporized Quick Strike before it could escape. Jake Martinez managed to restore full power to Starweaver's weapons just as 3 Dominion fighters attacked from different angles. The cruiser's defensive guns tracked the fast-moving targets, but the fighters were too quick and agile. One fighter's missiles penetrated the ship's shields and exploded against the main sensor array, leaving the crew partially blind. "I have partial sensors restored," reported the tactical officer, "but we have lost long-range detection capability." Lisa nodded and continued maneuvering through the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere. Without full sensors, they would have to fight at close range where even small mistakes meant death. Dr. Rodriguez received reports that Dominion ground forces were preparing to land on the planet. Troop transports were moving into position, while orbital bombardment began targeting military installations and spaceports. "Seal the deep shelters and activate emergency protocols," she ordered. "From now on, we maintain radio silence until the all-clear signal." Commander Veltar's flagship took concentrated fire from 4 Dominion ships as he tried to protect the remaining patrol boats. His shields failed and enemy beams cut through armor plating like it was thin metal. Bridge stations exploded and crew members were thrown to the deck. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, came the damage report. "We are losing life support in those sections." The patrol boat Lightning made a final desperate attack run against Admiral Cross's flagship carrier. The small ship accelerated to maximum speed straight toward the massive enemy vessel, while firing everything it had. Point defense systems destroyed most of Lightning's weapons, but one heavy torpedo got through. The explosion damaged the carrier's fighter bay but did not stop the ship. Return fire from the carrier's main guns completely destroyed Lightning in a brilliant flash of superheated plasma. The brave crew's sacrifice had bought a few more minutes, but the tactical situation continued to deteriorate. Only 4 Zilani ships remained operational and all were badly damaged. Lisa Grant felt Starweaver shudder as another hit penetrated their failing shields. "Engineering report," she called out. Jake's voice came back strained with exhaustion. "Main reactor is operating at 60% and falling. I can give you maybe 30 more minutes of full power before we start losing systems." "Sir, we are receiving another surrender demand from Admiral Cross," reported Veltar's communications officer. The Dominion commander appeared on screen with his cold expression unchanged. "You have fought bravely but uselessly. Surrender now and I will allow your remaining crews to die quickly. Continue this pointless resistance and I will execute every civilian on the planet slowly." Veltar looked around his damaged bridge at officers who had served with him for years. They were all thinking the same thing. They could surrender and die with honor or continue fighting and condemn millions of innocent people to torture and death. But they also knew surrendering would not actually save anyone. The Dominion killed civilians regardless of military cooperation. "Maintain combat operations," Veltar ordered. "We knew this was a one-way mission when we started." His crew nodded and returned to their stations. They would fight until their ships were destroyed or their ammunition was exhausted. Death was certain, but they would not make it easy for the enemy. Far at the edge of the system, long-range sensors detected something unusual. A massive energy signature was moving toward them at incredible speed. The signature was larger than any known ship design and approaching faster than conventional drives should allow. But the Zilani defenders were too busy fighting for their lives to notice the readings on their damaged sensor systems. Space twisted and warped as something massive dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Cathara system. The energy signature was unlike anything the local species had ever encountered. What emerged from the dimensional rift made both Zilani and Dominion forces stop fighting and stare at their sensor readings in disbelief. The USS Defiant stretched over 2 kilometers in length with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface while weapon ports glowed with contained energy that hurt to look at directly. The ship moved with purpose toward the battle zone, accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible for something so large, Captain. Alex Stone stood on the bridge studying tactical displays that showed the one-sided massacre taking place near the gas giant. His crew of 800 humans had been monitoring communications in the sector for weeks. They had intercepted the Zilani distress calls and decided intervention was necessary. "Communications, open a channel to all ships in the system," he ordered. This is Captain Stone of the human vessel USS Defiance to all combatants. Cease hostile actions immediately and prepare to receive terms. His voice carried across space to every ship in both fleets. The transmission used quantum encryption that somehow bypassed all communication security systems as if they did not exist. Admiral Cross stared at his displays, trying to understand what he was seeing. "What species builds ships that large?" he demanded from his intelligence officers. "I want full analysis of their technology and weapons capability immediately." The Dominion computers worked frantically, but found no match for the strange vessel in their databases. "Commander." Veltar felt a surge of hope as he watched the mysterious ship approach. "Are they responding to our distress calls?" he asked his communications officer. "I have never seen that ship designed before, but anyone willing to face the Dominion fleet must be either very brave or very powerful." His remaining two ships held position, waiting to see what would happen. "Captain." Lisa Grant stared at her sensors as they registered energy readings that made no sense. "Jake, what are you seeing in engineering?" she called to her chief engineer. His voice came back filled with amazement. "Captain, those power signatures are off the scale. Whatever drives that ship, it is nothing like our technology or theirs." Commander Kate Williams coordinated the Defiance weapon systems from her tactical station. "Captain, I have target locks on all Dominion vessels. Their shield configurations are primitive compared to what we expected. Our plasma cannon should penetrate their defenses without difficulty." She studied the enemy formation, looking for priority targets. "Lieutenant Commander." Ben Parker monitored the ship's reactor systems from his engineering station. The antimatter containment fields were operating perfectly, while power output remained steady at only 15% of maximum capability. "All weapon systems show green across the board, Captain. We are ready for full combat operations whenever you give the order." Admiral Cross decided to test this unknown threat before committing his full fleet. "Forward destroyers, engage that vessel immediately. I want to see what their weapons can do before we modify our tactics." 3 Dominion warships broke formation and accelerated toward the human ship with guns charging. Alex Stone watched the enemy ships approach while remaining completely calm. "Tactical, engage those 3 vessels with minimum necessary force. I want them disabled, not destroyed if possible." Kate Williams nodded and selected targeting solutions that would neutralize enemy weapons without killing the crews. The first exchange of fire lasted exactly 4 seconds. Human plasma cannons fired beams of contained antimatter that passed through Dominion shields like they were made of paper. The 3 enemy destroyers found their weapon systems surgically removed, while their engines were disabled by precision strikes. Not a single crew member was killed, but all 3 ships drifted helpless. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Cross as he stared at tactical displays showing his destroyers completely neutralized. "Their weapons ignore our shields entirely. How is that possible?" His officers had no answers because they had never encountered technology that treated their most advanced defenses as irrelevant obstacles. Veltar felt his heart racing as he watched the human ship demonstrate capabilities beyond anything in known space. "Open communications with that vessel immediately. If they are willing to help us, we need to coordinate our remaining forces with their operations." His communications officer worked frantically to establish contact USS Defiance. "This is Commander Veltar of the Zilani Defense Fleet. We gratefully accept any assistance you can provide. Our situation is desperate and we have civilians depending on our protection." His transmission reached the human ship within seconds. Despite the distance involved, Alex Stone replied personally to the Zilani commander. "Commander Veltar, your distress calls were received and we came as quickly as possible. Withdraw your remaining ships to safe distance and let us handle the Dominion fleet. We will discuss formal introductions after the immediate threat is eliminated." Lisa Grant felt relief flooding through her exhausted crew as they received orders to fall back. "All stop and maintain position behind the human vessel," she ordered. Starweaver's engines powered down to minimum, while the crew watched in fascination as their unexpected saviors moved to engage 40 enemy warships. Communications Officer Lieutenant Chris Baker began intercepting Dominion fleet communications and found their command structure in chaos. "Captain, the enemy admiral is trying to coordinate a massed attack, but his ships are not responding properly. Their communication systems appear to be experiencing technical difficulties." Ben Parker smiled as he monitored the electronic warfare systems that were quietly infiltrating every Dominion ship in the fleet. Human computer viruses were spreading through enemy networks faster than their security systems could adapt. Captain, we now have access to their navigation computers and life support systems. We can disable any enemy vessel without firing a shot. Admiral Cross realized his fleet was facing technology so advanced it made his warships seem like primitive toys. All ships attack that vessel with everything we have. Concentrate all fire on their main hull and ignore the smaller ships. 37 Dominion vessels turned toward the USS Defiance and opened fire. Simultaneously, the human ship absorbed the incoming fire without apparent damage while its shields glowed briefly with absorbed energy. Alex Stone studied the tactical display showing enemy positions and chose his response carefully. Tactical: deploy hunter-killer drones and engage all enemy vessels. Rules of engagement allow lethal force, but attempt to minimize casualties where possible. Hundreds of small drones launched from the Defiance and spread throughout the battle zone, moving with impossible speed and agility. Each drone carried weapons that could destroy ships much larger than themselves. The real battle was about to begin, and the Dominion fleet was about to discover what happened when primitive technology encountered human military engineering. The hunter-killer drones spread across the battle zone like a deadly swarm, moving at speeds that made tracking them nearly impossible. Each drone was only 3 meters long, but packed enough firepower to cripple ships 100 times their size. They flickered in and out of normal space using technology that made them appear and disappear without warning. Admiral Cross watched in horror as his flagship sensors lost track of the attacking drones only to have them reappear inside his defensive perimeter. "How are they getting past our shields?" he screamed at his tactical officers. "Our barriers should stop anything from materializing inside our protected space." No one had answers, because the human technology operated on principles unknown to local science. Lieutenant Amy Foster coordinated the drone attacks from her weapons station aboard the USS Defiance. Her targeting computers identified weak points in enemy ship designs that the aliens had never realized existed. "Captain, the Dominion vessels have critical vulnerabilities in their power distribution networks. Our drones can disable entire ships by hitting single connection points." The first wave of drones struck 12 Dominion cruisers simultaneously, causing cascading power failures throughout their systems. Weapons went offline, followed by shields and life support, as carefully targeted strikes severed key components. The enemy ships found themselves drifting helpless while their crews worked frantically to restore basic operations. Commander Feltar watched the battle from his damaged bridge, unable to believe what his sensors were showing. "How many drones did that ship launch?" he asked his tactical officer. "I count over 300 individual targets, but they are moving too fast for accurate tracking." The human vessel continued launching more drones while engaging larger enemy ships with its main weapons. "Captain." Alex Stone studied the tactical situation with the calm precision of someone who had faced worse odds many times before. "Communications officer, begin intercepting enemy command frequencies. I want to know what their admiral is planning before he tries it." Lieutenant Chris Baker nodded and began penetrating Dominion communication networks with ease. Jake Martinez worked alongside Zelani engineers to keep Starweaver operational while they watched the incredible display of human military power. "Captain, these humans fight like nothing I have ever seen. They are not just winning, they are making it look easy." Lisa Grant nodded as she watched another group of enemy ships lose power and drift helplessly. The Dominion destroyer Ravager attempted to ram one of the smaller human drones, but the tiny vessel simply vanished and reappeared behind the much larger ship. A single precisely aimed shot from the drone's weapon destroyed the destroyer's main reactor, causing the entire vessel to explode. The drone emerged from the fireball completely undamaged. Chris Baker broke through Dominion encryption and began monitoring their internal communications. "Captain, the enemy admiral is trying to coordinate a retreat, but half his ships cannot receive orders. Our electronic warfare systems have completely disrupted their command structure. The human cyber attack was proving as devastating as their physical weapons." Admiral Cross realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed by technology he could not understand or counter. "All ships ignore the small craft and concentrate fire on the main enemy vessel. If we can destroy their command ship, the drones might become less effective." It was the desperate order of a commander who knew he was losing badly. 30 Dominion warships turned their weapons toward the USS Defiance and fired everything they had in a concentrated barrage that would have vaporized any known ship design. The human vessel absorbed the massive attack without apparent damage while its shields flickered briefly with rainbow patterns of absorbed energy. Ben Parker monitored the ship's defensive systems from his engineering station. Captain, enemy weapons are having no measurable effect on our hull integrity. Shield strength remains at 98% and rising, as our systems convert their attack energy into additional power. The Dominion fleet had just helped charge the human ship's weapons. Alex Stone decided to end the battle quickly before more lives were lost unnecessarily. Tactical deploy phase torpedoes and target enemy command vessels. Set warheads for maximum structural damage but minimum crew casualties. Kate Williams programmed the weapons to disable rather than destroy whenever possible. The phase torpedoes materialized inside enemy ships, bypassing their shields completely before detonating. Unlike conventional weapons, these devices created localized space distortions that tore apart ship structures while leaving crew compartments mostly intact. 6 Dominion command ships found themselves broken in half but with most of their crews still alive. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the battle from the planetary surface while coordinating medical teams to help wounded civilians. The human ship is transmitting medical data to our hospitals. Their healing technology is centuries ahead of ours. Human medical officers were already beaming down to assist with radiation treatment and trauma surgery. Lieutenant Amy Foster targeted the remaining enemy weapons with surgical precision. Her plasma beams cut through armor plating like it was soft metal while carefully avoiding crew sections. Captain, I can disable the rest of their fleet without destroying a single ship if you want prisoners for interrogation. She had perfect fire control. Even at extreme range, the Dominion carrier Devastator launched its remaining fighters in a desperate attempt to overwhelm the human drones through sheer numbers. 200 enemy craft swarmed toward their targets only to find the small human vessels could engage multiple opponents simultaneously. Fighter after fighter exploded as drone weapons tracked and destroyed them with mechanical efficiency. Commander Veltar opened communications with the human ship. USS Defiance, this is incredible to watch. Your technology is far beyond anything we knew existed. How long have humans been developing these weapon systems? He was amazed that such power could be used so precisely without unnecessary destruction. Alex Stone replied while continuing to monitor the battle. Commander, we have been preparing for deep space operations for several decades. This represents our standard patrol ship capabilities rather than our most advanced designs. His casual tone made it clear that the Defiance was not even humanity's best. Warship Admiral Cross felt his command authority crumbling as ship after ship reported critical damage and system failures. His fleet was not just losing, but being completely humiliated by a single enemy vessel. Prepare my shuttle for immediate departure. If the flagship is destroyed, I need to survive to report what we have encountered here. The battle reached its climax as the last functional Dominion ships attempted to flee the system while human drones pursued them relentlessly. None of the enemy vessels had sufficient engine power to escape, while their weapons remained completely ineffective against human technology. Admiral Cross watched his life's work destroyed in less than 2 hours by opponents he had never imagined possible. The battle ended with Admiral Cross dead, and his flagship broken in half by a phase torpedo that had materialized inside the command deck. 28 Dominion ships drifted powerless while their crews awaited whatever fate the humans would decide. Captain Alex Stone ordered his drones to form protective formations around the disabled vessels, while rescue operations began immediately. All Dominion vessels, this is the USS Defiance, transmitted Alex Stone to the surviving enemy ships. Prepare to receive medical assistance and emergency supplies. Any crew members requiring immediate treatment will be transported to our medical facilities, regardless of previous hostilities. His words shocked both sides because mercy toward defeated enemies was not common in this region of space. Commander Veltar brought his damaged cruiser alongside the massive human warship, feeling incredibly small beside its bulk. The USS Defiance extended docking tubes and airlock connections with mechanical precision that suggested this was standard procedure. Permission to come aboard, Captain Stone, he requested formally. I would like to thank you personally for saving our people. Dr. Jennifer Adams led the human medical teams that beamed down to Kithra Prime, with equipment that seemed like magic to local doctors. Radiation sickness that would have taken weeks to treat was cured in minutes, while traumatic injuries healed completely under advanced human medical scanners. Your people will recover fully, she assured Dr. Rodriguez. We have experience treating these types of war injuries. Jake Martinez worked with human engineers to repair Starweaver using tools and materials that exceeded anything in Zelani technology. These power couplings will increase your engine efficiency by 40%, explained the human technician. We can also upgrade your weapons and shields if you want to join joint patrol operations with our fleet. Captain Lisa Grant walked through the corridors of the USS Defiance, amazed by the technology surrounding her. The ship seemed to anticipate crew needs while maintaining itself automatically. How many people does it take to operate a vessel this size? She asked Captain Stone during their meeting. His answer surprised her. 800 crew members? But the ship could function with half that number if necessary. The formal negotiations took place in the Defiance conference room where Commander Veltar met with senior human officers. Alex Stone explained that Earth had been expanding into this sector quietly for several years, establishing defensive positions and monitoring local conflicts. We prefer to avoid interference but could not ignore genocide being committed against peaceful species. Lieutenant Chris Baker presented intelligence data showing Dominion activities across 12 star systems. Your enemies have been systematically conquering and enslaving entire populations. The attack on Kithera Prime was part of a larger campaign to control all dilithium mining operations in this region. The scope of the threat was larger than the Zelani had realized. Dr. Adams began sharing medical technology with Zelani doctors, while carefully selecting advances that would help their society without creating dangerous dependencies. These diagnostic scanners can identify diseases years before symptoms appear, she explained. Early treatment prevents most serious illness while reducing medical costs significantly. The technology would revolutionize Zelani healthcare. Ben Parker supervised the installation of human defensive systems on Zelani ships while training their engineers in basic maintenance procedures. These shield generators will stop anything the Dominion can throw at you, he assured the technical crews. The power requirements are minimal, and the system is designed to be nearly foolproof in operation. Captain Stone reviewed reports from his department heads before making his recommendations to Earth Command. The Zelani demonstrated qualities that made them valuable potential allies, including courage, technological aptitude, and strong ethical principles. I am recommending establishment of a permanent naval base in this system, he wrote in his official report. Commander Veltar formally proposed a military alliance between the Zelani Confederation and humanity during ceremonies held aboard both ships. We offer our friendship and whatever assistance we can provide in exchange for protection against future Dominion attacks. The agreement was signed by both commanders while their crews watched through view screens. Lisa Grant accepted command of the 1st Joint Human Zelani Patrol Squadron, with 3 upgraded Zelani cruisers and 2 human escort vessels. Her mixed crew would begin operations immediately to hunt down remaining Dominion forces in the outer systems. We will show other species that cooperation between our peoples benefits everyone, she told her officers. The Dominion prisoners were processed according to human military justice procedures with surprising results for the defeated enemy crews. Instead of execution or torture, they received medical treatment, food, and comfortable detention facilities. Many prisoners requested to remain as civilian workers, rather than return to their former empire after experiencing humane treatment. Dr. Rodriguez coordinated with human scientists to establish research facilities that would advance Zelani technology while respecting their cultural independence. We want to learn from each other, explained the human research director. Your mining techniques could improve our asteroid operations while our medical advances help your people live longer, healthier lives. Jake Martinez accepted a position as liaison engineer between human and Zelani technical departments. His experience with both technology bases made him invaluable for joint operations. I never imagined I would see humans and aliens working together like this, he told Lisa during their final meeting aboard Starweaver. The USS Defiance prepared for departure after 2 weeks of diplomatic and technical activities. Captain Stone met privately with Veltar before leaving. "This is just the beginning of cooperation between our species. More human ships will arrive soon to establish the permanent base we discussed." The Zalani commander felt optimistic about his people's future for the first time in years. Kithara Prime began rebuilding with human assistance and advanced technology that accelerated construction schedules dramatically. New defensive platforms were installed around the planet, while upgraded mining equipment increased dilithium production efficiency. The system that had faced destruction now became one of the most secure and productive in the region. Chris Baker transmitted the final operational reports to Earth Command, describing successful first contact protocols and alliance establishment. The local species show significant potential as long-term partners in this sector. Recommend immediate deployment of diplomatic and military assets to solidify relationship. His message would reach Earth in 3 days. Captain Stone stood on his bridge watching Kithara Prime recede as the USS Defiance departed for its next patrol sector. The political situation had changed completely in just 2 weeks. Where once the Dominion threatened genocide against helpless civilians, now a strong alliance protected peaceful species from aggression. The last transmission from Kithara system came from Commander Veltar thanking the humans once again for their intervention. "You saved more than our lives," his message said. "You gave us hope for a future where different species can work together instead of fighting endless wars." The USS Defiance jumped to hyperspace carrying that message toward the next system that might need human protection. Behind them, the Zalani began their new role as humanity's first alien allies while former enemies learned that cooperation offered better rewards than conquest. The galaxy had become a safer place because one human ship decided to answer a desperate call for help.